at the end as of this informational session. So we'll answer and get to all of the questions. Okay. We can just start off by introducing ourselves. So I can start. I am Romisa. I work with Jen in the Trexo Robotics marketing department. So that's me. And Allison.
Yep. Hi, everyone. I'm Allison. I run sales for Trexo. In addition to working for Trexo for the past 3 years, I also have a child who uses the Trexo actually a little over 3.5 years now for him. So can always share from the parent use perspective as well.
Yeah. Jen?
Yeah, I'm Jen. As Ramisa mentioned, I'm in the marketing department and trying to be a little bit of more of a fly on the wall on this webinar. So I'll just sit back and mostly let Allison and Ramisa handle it. We may have a couple other teammates joining us at some point. So if we do, we'll introduce them and they'll jump in as well.
Yeah. And we'll just have the entire presentation with the next steps since you all have placed a reservation. So just a reminder, we are all here to help you. And if you have any questions, even after this presentation, we'll also be sending the recorded Zoom to you afterwards. And we're all here to help you. So feel free to contact your account executive, Jade Alejandro, if you have any other questions afterwards as well. And yeah, Allison, I guess we can get started.
So actually, even though I said I'm going to be a fly on the wall, I'm going to start and then I'll be quiet after that. So I just wanted to talk a little bit about the Pay It Forward contest. So it is closed to new entrants at this point. People that placed a reservation during the month of October and got their assessment in, and then if their kiddo was a good fit for the Trexo, then you were eligible. Also, assuming that you live in the U.S., excluding Colorado, Maryland, Nebraska, North Dakota, Vermont, and in Canada, excluding Quebec. And we apologize, we did not want to exclude those areas, but just the legalities of contests. So where we're at in the contest right now is we're looking for submissions on your idea of how you would pay it forward if you were the winner. And so it might be like, who will you help? How will you help them? Is it individual? Is it somebody you know? Is it community? Whatever details you can give us so that we understand what your vision is. And there will be a panelist of 3 people. 2 of them are winners of previous Trexo giveaways, and 1 is a Trexo mom. And they will be reviewing all of the submissions and they will be deciding based on the creativity, but also doability of the Pay It Forward. How easily can it be actually carried and done out? And then they will also be rating it based on the actual submission itself, on the creativity. So any way you can think of a video and audio, something that's written, handwritten, digital, there are lots of different things that you can do. We have set up a page where all the submissions can go through, and I can send that out to everybody when I send out this video. The submission is due by 11:59 p.m. Eastern on November 25th. And the winners will be announced on December 2nd. We're not sure exactly what time yet, but we'll let you know. It'll be announced during a live. We'll also notify the winners by email. There's going to be 4 winners. 2 people will win a 12-month Trexo lease, and 2 people will win a treadmill. And good luck to everybody. We're excited to see all those submissions come in.
Yeah. So everyone probably knows that as a reservation holder, you can still send in new submissions.
Yes,
Okay.
thank you. So yeah, just let me clarify that in case it's not clear. If you placed a reservation, as I said, during the month of October and completed your assessment, you can. But if you've been a reservation holder for a little bit longer than that, that's okay, as long as you hadn't signed a contract to have it delivered by October 15th, and as long as you had your assessment done, then you're definitely welcome, and you meet the geographic criteria. You're welcome to submit.
Okay. I guess we'll get started here. We're just going to kind of dive right in, but just want to welcome everybody to the Trexo family. I mean, we are really excited that you guys decided to take this journey with us, and truly honored that we get to be a part of it, you know, and witness hopefully all the amazing things that you guys will experience that I know I have with the time we've used the Trexo. So if you have questions, even after this, yes, you know, reach out to Jada or Alejandro, but of course, I'm always happy to answer questions as well. So let's just go over pricing. Some of this information, some of you guys might know, I may have already spoken with you, but there's been several families that we just haven't had a chance to contact just due to the amount of reservations that came in October. So with regards to pricing, Trexo is available for purchase and lease. Leasing is only available in the US or Canada. So if you are an international family, the Trexo does have to be purchased in full before it ships out. And we also say rent to own. So lease is the same thing as the rent to own. And pricing, so let's talk about outright purchase price for the small and medium. It's $34,900, and large and extra large is $39,900. It says 2-year warranty, but it's actually a 3-year warranty with the home device for all 4 sizes. With the lease option, small and medium Trexo, it's $9.99 a month. And large and extra large is $10.99 a month. So it is $1,000 normally for the down payment. You guys came in with a reservation. Well, I'm assuming most came in with a reservation of $100. So what happens is it's more of like a deferred payment. On your first invoice, you're going to end up seeing that $900 difference for that down payment. So obviously no other payment is due until your Trexo, right before your Trexo ships out. Alejandro and Jada will be in contact with you guys with what those fees would look like. But if you chose the rent to own, the lease option, on that first invoice, what you're going to see is first and last month's payment. So that, you know, $9.99 or $10.99 times 2, plus that $900 difference in the down payment, and then shipping to your area. I mean, it's usually an average of roughly like $300-ish, depending where you're at. And then the other thing there would be tax. So in the event your state requires us to charge tax on medical device, then we would have to apply that sales tax as well. And the other thing that's not included here is the Riften. So I'll talk about that in a minute, but with regards to the rent to own, I'm a huge fan of the rent to own for many reasons. You're committing to 12 months at a time. So it is over 36 months you would own it, but you're signing an agreement for 12 months at a time. So at the end of 12 months, you're going to decide if you're keeping or returning it. If you returned it, there's no cancellation fee. If you keep it, you could purchase it at that point minus what you've paid, or you continue with another 12-month agreement. And same thing at month 24, reevaluate, are you going to continue with it or return it? And if you continued with it, you would own it at the end of 36 months. So really it's just checkpoints at 12 months, 24 months to make sure you guys are happy with it. You want to continue with it and you are using it versus it just sitting in the corner and not being used. I have lots of equipment that is sitting in the corner or the garage that does not get used because I think it's going to be great for my child, but it's not. So that's one of the favorite things I have about Trexo is that, you know, you do have that option for the checkpoints to make sure it is still going well and you're using it. But also, whether you purchase or you do the rent to own, you do have a 2-week trial period. So when the Trexo ships out to you, you guys will have tracking. You'll know when it's coming. And at that point, we'll also let you know when the training is going to be scheduled. It's all done remotely via video chat. So when we complete the training with you, that starts your 2-week trial. And if in that 2-week window, you guys decide it's not a good fit, you're not happy with it, whatever the case may be, let us know. For US and Canadian families, we'll schedule a pickup. When we get it back, we'll refund everything you've paid, just minus the shipping cost. But for international families, the same thing applies. You guys do have that 2-week trial. Once you complete the training, it starts. You would just have to ship the Trexo back to us. And I think that is the bulk of it on pricing. Ladies, did I miss anything that you can think of?
I think you've got it all.
Okay. So pricing, it does vary based on the size and specific customization. So the sizing you saw, small and medium are the same price, large and extra large are the same price. Specific customization really applies to the Riften. So the Trexo only works with that Riften dynamic pacer gait trainer. When we get your assessment, we're reviewing it internally as a team to make sure your kiddo is a good fit, safe, appropriate, all of that, because we won't sell it just to sell it. If we did actually determine that it wasn't a good fit, we would refund that deposit back to you. But during that time, we would also, once you're approved, we'll determine what size Trexo and what size Riften your kiddo needs. And then we would email you exactly that list of Riften size and accessories. So that customization is, does your child need a saddle seat or arm prompts, whereas maybe another child doesn't. So there is a little bit of variance in there in the price, but we can definitely get you that list of accessories and sizing once we approve your assessment. And then at that point, we could actually price it out, let you know what it would cost if you purchase that Riften from us versus if you wanted to go through insurance. So we did mention that deposit, that $100 deposit does become part of that down payment. After leasing the device, you would own it for 36 months. And if you were interested in a treadmill, the treadmill is not included, but it is available, and it's $1,000 one-time fee. The thing with the treadmill, I do get a lot of families that ask me, can you just purchase one online because you want to use one, you want to get one for yourself, which I totally get, but unfortunately, the answer is no, not with the Trexo. We did look for a commercial option, but it didn't exist. We tried our best, and so we ended up having to build it. The Trexo is actually just a manual belt. There's no power component to it. There's no like handlebars, no buttons, gadgets that you have to push like a traditional treadmill. There's the manual belt. The Trexo rolls on top of the treadmill. You lock the wheels and you hit start just like you would when your kiddo's walking over ground. So it's still your kiddo essentially doing the work. There's no motors to that treadmill component. But the treadmill is a great option because if you are in inclement weather, I'm in Colorado, so it's nice, and there's times where it snows. So when it's warm, yes, we can go outside, and but when it snows, raining, any of those things, we still have the treadmill option. Or even if you're just pressed for time and don't have as much of a window to go outside, maybe you're multitasking, but still watching your kid on the Trexo and the treadmill, then you can definitely take advantage of the treadmill. It's helpful. I've used that option many times with my kiddo. So let's talk about funding options. There's many funding options when it comes to the Trexo. Unfortunately, when it comes to insurance, we don't have pre-approvals in place. Because the Trexo is the first device of its kind, we have to build that space, and that's what we're working on with studies. So the goal is once the studies wrap up, we can take that data to insurance to try to get pre-approvals in place. But in the meantime, it is out of pocket. So just know, when I'm asked, well, you guys won't take insurance, it's not up to us. That's not how insurance works. It is totally controlled by your insurance companies. If they have an approval for the Trexo, absolutely, we will take it. But that is up to you guys to do the legwork. We don't have an insurance department. And I start with insurance because this is the one that's asked the most. So while I say we don't have pre-approvals in place, we have had a handful of approvals from insurance companies. And this is from the parents doing the legwork. So I say it doesn't hurt to try. The worst they can say is no. What we see is the parents who have had the Trexo for several months, or they went somewhere and tried the Trexo. These are the cases that we're seeing get approved. Insurance is pretty particular about requesting items. They want to see that you have trialed it or used it and that it would actually work for your kid before they approve it. And that's kind of been no different with the cases we've seen approved. So a couple of the families had the Trexo for several months, and then they went ahead and submitted to their insurance to try to get them to cover it. They were able to pull the data from the months they've had it and use that in their letter of justification. Another mom went to a clinic and tried it, and she used the data from that session to use in her letter of medical necessity to cover it. The two families that had it and then submitted, they actually got the Trexo covered in full. The one family that went to the clinic, her insurance actually only covered it for a year. So they took a different approach of looking at it as that rent to own instead of paying in full. They'll cover it for the year, and then come year 2, she'll have to go back for the authorization for them to cover it. And then same thing with year 3. And then the last one that we've had was actually, it was a straight Medicaid out of Kansas. I honestly still don't know how they got it approved, because we all know Medicaid is very particular, especially if you've never tried something. And thankfully this family got it covered. So the trick with, so the 3 cases I shared before, the Medicaid example, they were all private insurance. If you have private insurance, they can pay us directly. So we don't have to be contracted like with a DME company, because we're not. So if you call your DME company and ask about Trexo and say you want it, chances are they don't know what you're talking about, because it's not an option for them. It's solely distributed, built and distributed by us. But when it comes to Medicaid, if that is your only insurance source, that's fine. Just know that, you know, we're going to have a different conversation, because your DME company will have to process it. And that means I will most likely have to talk to your equipment company, explain how this could work, but they would have to be willing to submit kind of just a one-off exception to insurance to see if they would cover it. So that's just a quick overview of insurance. I'm happy to kind of answer any questions you have. We do have template letters of medical necessity that we're happy to share with you. You can share that with your therapist or your doc. They can use the verbiage. We know this is what works. This is actually what's been approved with the past cases. So happy to share that. Anything you guys want to add on insurance before I jump to the others? No. Okay. So other options outside of the obvious of paying out of pocket, fundraising. We've had many fundraising families with the Trexo. Jen is working on a new fundraising packet for you guys. So I'll let her speak a bit more about that timeline when she thinks she'll have that available, but just know that fundraising is an option. We do also have families who partner with an organization that we work with called Help Hope Live. They are a nonprofit organization out of Pennsylvania. And their purpose is to help families fundraise for medical expenses. And the Trexo falls under that umbrella. So we're happy to share their contact information with you. You can reach out to them. They kind of act like a personal fundraising coach where they help you come up with ideas and ways to fundraise. They also have an online platform similar to GoFundMe. So the benefit to using Help Hope Live is since they're a nonprofit, people who donate, their donation becomes tax deductible. And that is the same for companies. So that's definitely a benefit for companies who are trying to, have that tax write-off for their organization. This could be a way for them to support you and get that tax write-off at the same time. Jen, do you want to mention anything kind of around the fundraising packet and when we think we'll have that available?
Yeah, so I am speaking with families in the Trexo community that have done fundraising and sort of interviewing them about what has worked, what hasn't worked. And I'm putting together a package, a list of specific ideas and tips, some language, verbiage, photos, things that people have used that they've found successful. So the idea is that you can tap into the success of other people and help get you great results on your fundraiser. Realistically, it's probably about 2 weeks away from being ready. But if it's ready any sooner, I will definitely let you guys know. We're going to send out an email and share it with people, and we'll also share it on social. It's going to be definitely sort of more comprehensive than anything we've been able to put out before, because we have so many families that have fundraised so successfully. We really have a lot of great info to share with you guys. So we're excited to get this done and get it out there.
Awesome. Thanks, Jen. So next category, grants. We do have a list of grant resources that we've put together. we're always happy to share that with you. You would just have to go through the list and read each grant organization's criteria, because they all have different criteria to see if your kiddo meets that criteria. Some of it is even financial. Make sure you're under a certain cap. For those who don't know much about grants, just note majority of grant, I shouldn't say they don't require you to pay it back, because I've never run into an organization with grants that actually require you to pay it back. So I've had that question come up with some parents of, if I get grant funding from these organizations, do I have to pay it back? What I've seen, no. And I think most of these organizations on the list don't require you to pay it back, but I don't want to say there's none out there, because chances are there could be, and I just don't know about it. But when it's a grant organization, it's a nonprofit that's probably raised funds, and part of their mission is to give back to their community and help support. So that's where they're gifting, a certain amount of money to families to help them towards whatever they're asking for. And in this case would be the Trexo. So we can share the grant options with you. Outside of our list, just know that there's probably grant resources in your community as well. You just have to dig a little bit. We've had families get the Trexo fully funded by organizations in their community. So if you think of places like Lions Club, Rotary, Kiwanis, those are YMCA. I mean, a lot of those are humanitarian organizations who want to get involved in a local cause and help support their community. So definitely worth reaching out to. And the last category would be, actually, there's another one I'm going to touch on that I don't think is on here, but this one will talk waivers. So waivers is an interesting one. I shouldn't say every state, most states, a lot of states have a waiver program. So it'd be worth looking at your state to see if there's a state waiver program. And this usually falls under Medicaid. I'm in Colorado, so I know we have a waiver program. It's every state is just so different that it's hard for me to tell you if your state has one or not and how to navigate it. So it's worth looking into. I can tell you families in Minnesota, we've actually had a couple, because they have a waiver program, but we've had a couple get it funded for a year at a time through their waiver program. So it's definitely worth researching and looking into to see if your state has a waiver program for your kiddo. The last thing for funding options that's not on here that I want to bring up is Make-A-Wish. So we do have a partnership that we've rolled out with Make-A-Wish. Chances are your office may not know about it. They were informed a while back from the national office that this partnership exists. But basically, if you qualified for a wish for your child, that's not up to us, that's up to Make-A-Wish. You would have to go through their process. But if you went through the process and were approved, if your ultimate wish would be for your child to walk, then this Wish to Walk experience is available. So they are covering either 6 months or 12 months of this Wish to Walk experience. They won't pay for it in full. Every chapter has a different budget threshold. So while one chapter in one state might cover it for 6 months, another chapter in another state might cover it for 12 months. So just know if you end up talking to friends and they're like, hey, they got it for 12 months, why is mine 6 months? That's why. Every chapter is different with their budget, but no, it is an option. So you could explore that as well if you haven't looked into Make-A-Wish before.
Great. And I just wanted to add that for those of you that are in Texas, if you're in Texas and your kiddo is in public school, there's some other criteria, but those are kind of the two foundational items. There is a program in Texas, it just started in August, where you can get some money. The program launched and then it changed. Part of it is actually paused right now, but there definitely is still the opportunity to get some money. So specifically, if you're in Texas and you're interested, feel free to shoot me an email. I will be pulling together some information and I can just make sure that you're on the list to get that information.
Yep, and I'm actually, go ahead.
I just saw that Ina had her hand up, so we'll just be taking all the questions till the end. So if you have questions, just keep them written down in your mind until the end.
Yeah, and in addition to Texas, just know there's other states. So when it comes to your school and the program, I know Arizona actually, because I have a couple friends in Arizona. That's what I was looking up. It's called ESA, and I think it's part of just a educational benefits. So I don't know how to navigate these things, but I know they exist. People have accessed them. So that could be another funding source, is just to look into your school system and if it's worked into your IEP and how they would cover outside equipment, because oftentimes they're covering like a stander or another chair or something in school for your kiddo. Some parents have worked the Trexo into that as well.
Yeah, and we've just had Mark join us, so welcome, Mark. He's the customer success manager at Trexo.
Hi guys, sorry I was stuck in a meeting.
No worries.
Okay, so the assessment, as you guys know, we probably emailed that assessment out to you. It's done online. This is where you fill out further information about your kiddo, background, history, videos, measurements. When we get it, we'll review it internally as a team, make sure it's safe and appropriate for your kiddo, but also that it would benefit them, because we won't sell it just to sell it. If we felt it was not a good fit for you, we will refund that deposit back to you. If we have questions, we'll go back and forth and get things clarified. Oftentimes it's there might be need clarification around like hip dysplasia, scoliosis, degree of curvature, contractures, things like that. But ultimately, it is easier with two people, because you will be holding a measuring tape and trying to take pictures, maybe moving your kiddo through a certain range of motion and do a video. So obviously easier if you have two hands, or at least a tripod would be your other option. So it will take about an hour. You'll need a measuring tape, and you'll basically fill out as many details as you can. So if you have questions about the assessment, any of it, you can always reach out to us. JDEV or Alejandro are definitely the point of contact to answer questions with the assessment.
Great. So I just wanted to say real quick, since Mark has just joined us, perfect timing, Mark, because we're ready for the training overview. Just to let you know, we've got about 15 minutes left to work our way through the presentation, and then it'll be 15 minutes of Q&A after that.
Awesome. Okay, so I'll jump in and have a little explain how the training goes. So basically, after your device has been delivered to you and you've assembled it through the assembly instructions that we sent you, you'll get a booking link to book a 3-hour time with me, or Alejandro and JDEV will just go ahead and book one for you. And basically what'll end up happening is you'll meet with me on the day that it's time to do your training, and we'll go through a PowerPoint presentation, and I'll get to meet you and all the rest of it. But basically what we'll do is we'll talk about all the safety precautions to do with the device. We'll talk about all the hardware bits, the hardware bits being like the pieces of the Trexo. We'll go over all the different the hardware pieces and how we'll do all the sizing and the adjusting for all those pieces. Then we'll talk about the Riftons, because a lot of families haven't had Riftons before, and I'll kind of explain how we do all the setups on the Riftons, as well as what all the little white buttons are all over the device, so that you're familiar with how everything kind of functions. And then what we'll do is we'll go through the tablet, and I'll explain how all of the features on the tablet are set up so that you're able to look at the child's previous activity history, as well as start up new sessions and set up the child's gait angles and pick through the different walking patterns that we have and which to use in which for which kiddo in which situation. And then we'll also get you set up on the chat app, which is basically going to be the communication piece for you to be able to reach out to us going forward. So after you're trained, typically families have a bunch of questions, and we get you to put an app on your phone so you can easily just send us text messages. Whenever you guys run into a problem, there's myself, as well as probably 10, 12 other people that'll all be on the other end of the chat app, ready to answer your questions whenever you got them. So you can send us videos if you've got any problems that you're experiencing, or it's also a good place where you can kind of upload success stories for us so we can see them, because it's fun. But also with the chat app is where you'll be able to book sessions with me. So after the training is done, we'll have check-ins to make sure that your child's progressing with the device going forward. And we'll have regular meeting points so that we can make sure that the device is fit for your child at all times, and that we're setting goals for your kiddo going forward. But once that's all set up, then the last piece of the puzzle, which is the good part, We get your child into the device and we make sure that they're fit nice and properly. And then we set up their gait angles and we take it for a test drive for the first time so that everybody's comfortable in how the device operates, and then you guys are kind of safe to use it on your own. And then we let you just kind of have at it for the first week and see how things go. We'll give you recommendations as to what we think the amount of usage should be for your kiddo in your specific situation. And then we'll meet with you after the first week and have another meeting with you that'll last probably 15 to 20 minutes, where we can just have an open forum and you can bring up all of the issues that you've had over the week, or kind of just talk about all the successes, or basically it's just your open forum to talk about how the last week has gone and if there's anything that needs to be changed. So after the device has been set up and you guys have all been trained, there's obvious maintenance that are going to happen. If things on the device break for whatever reason, because let's be honest, kids kick these things around all day long. They're fairly strong, there's no question, but at the end of the day, things break. Basically, what you can do is reach out to myself and the rest of the engineering team on the Trexo chat app, which is that app that you're going to put on your phone. And you can just say, hey, I had a problem and this part broke. And if you can't explain what it is, because it's on your phone, you can just take a picture of it and then upload it onto the app, and I can see what happened on it. And then if it's a simplistic part to replace, we'll ship you the part, and then you can just reattach it. Everything on the device can get swapped in and out with a set of Allen keys. It's really quite easy. But if it's a more challenging repair, what we'll do is we'll send you out the parts, and then we'll book a video time with you with our engineering team. And our engineering team will just help you and walk you through all the repairs that are required. Typically, like I said, everything gets replaced on this device with Allen keys, and it's maybe 45 minutes tops to do any of the repairs. Battery maintenance, it's good practice. There's a few practices for the battery. So typically you're going to plug this thing in the evening to charge it, because it needs 8 to 10 hours to charge it. So I would recommend just plugging it in and letting it go overnight, and then it's ready for you for the next morning. And that'll give you about 2 to 2.5 hours of walking time on the battery for the day, and just use it as much as you want. And then in the evening, plug it back in again and forget about it till the next morning. There's a charging wire that goes from the Trexo to the wall, and in the middle of that wire is a little block that has a light on it, and basically that light will let you know whether the battery is fully charged or not. So goal setting. So this is the part where we also get to have some fun. So after we're done the setup, we're going to have regular check-in points with you, where we get to do goal setting and we get to make size adjustments to the device, because all these kiddos grow and we want to make sure that the device is fitting them as they're using it over time. But it's where we can really kind of tweak the device and get it set up for the kiddo. So what we can do is take the previous performance with the device, because it's tracking how the child has been doing with it. It's tracking the amount of effort that the kiddo's putting in when it's operating, and you can visually see that by the lights changing color on the hips. Blue lights let you know that the kiddo's doing the work, but the robot itself is tracking how much effort that it's putting in, and it's giving us readback as to how much effort that the kiddo's putting in. And then we can take that metric and we can use it to challenge the kid over time by changing the whole thing up and making it more challenging for them. So ways that we can do that is doing things like taking the seat out, flipping the device around the opposite direction and having the child facing the open side. Things we can do is changing it from endurance mode into strength mode. So endurance mode is basically, to make this as simple as possible, it makes the device more responsive to the kiddo's effort. So instead of us just pushing play and the robot going through the walking pattern that we want it to, you can change it into a different mode and make it reliant on the kiddo pushing first, and then it'll respond in turn and go along with what the kiddo's doing. So we can make the whole system more reliant on the child's initiation than it is on the robot doing the work, which is ultimately the way we want to go with this. And then other ways that we want to set goals here is just basically increasing the amount of step counts, the length of time of sessions, how many sessions per week. Basically just trying to get as much use out of this device for your kiddo as we can. And yeah, the ongoing support. So when a kiddo gets these devices, like I was saying, after the first week, we're going to meet and have a 15-20 minute chat and just make sure that everything's going in the way that you want. But we're going to continue to have those chats for the life of the span of the time that you're using the Trexo. So every 3 months, I'm going to be sending out a text message reminder to you to say, hey, if you'd like, we could meet and we can make sure that your Trexos fit appropriately for your kiddo. And while we're doing that, what I'll do is take a look at their history and how they've been doing. And then we can create a plan going forward based on how they've been doing. So we can take that initiation score and either make it more challenging for them, or we can say, hey, you know, I've been seeing your kiddo, you can really see the core strength starting to build. Maybe it's time that we can consider taking the seat out and challenge them in that way. Or as you can see in this photo here, we can flip the device around in the opposite direction and have the child facing the open side. There's lots of things that we can do with it. It's also a time where you guys can just kind of throw your questions or concerns at me and we can discuss them and get them out in the open and deal with them as best as we can. To be honest with you, I've seen most of the concerns before, and nothing at this point is really new to me. And if it is, there's an engineering team and a whole bunch of really intelligent individuals at Trexo that can really help with these problems. And the beauty of being the ongoing support guy is I get to follow along with your kiddos and your successes and your journeys with these devices going forward. So I get to be the one who gets to celebrate these milestones with you. At least I get to hope to be anyway. And then, yeah, really, it's just a really great environment to be in because it's a positive on both sides. We're trying to push your kiddo as best as we can, and then we get to celebrate the amazing milestones with you. Yeah, we kind of talked about this, but for when repairs are required on the device, the easiest way to do that is to just, instead of even trying to explain what the part is just take a picture of it, send it to me on the chat app, and then we know exactly what needs to be replaced. We send express shipping for all the replacement parts because ultimately these things are children's legs. We don't want them to have downtime. So we're going to do our best to limit the amount of time that a repair is going to take. So we want all the shipping of all the parts to go as quickly as we can because we want these things to be as operational as we can be. The sizing, we're going to be doing sizing during check-ins. Unless at some point you guys get comfortable enough to do the sizing yourself. I've had lots of families get comfortable with it. It's really easy once you've done it a couple of times. You can you get used to it yourself, and it's not that hard. And then the other part so what ends up usually happening in check-ins is I'll meet with the families and we'll talk about the goal planning. But while I'm doing that, I'm taking a look at the alignment of how everything looks on the device and offering little adjustment tips here, there, and everywhere to get the kiddo in a more comfortable position, as well as to get the body alignment in a better spot. Because there's a big piece to the puzzle here of getting your kiddo in the right body alignment. We really need the child's upper torso to be in the correct body posture for the bottom half to work. And we rely on the Riften to be able to do that. And it's just a matter of manipulating the Riften parts to get your kiddo into that body position that we need. And sometimes because of gravity and the way they slip out of place, and they just, families need help to get things back in, because what ends up typically happening is the kiddo just doesn't look right in the device and the family can't figure out why. And they want to have a meeting with me and I go, oh, right, you just pull this strap here and then everything's fine. And then they pull the strap and they're like, oh yeah, okay, that totally makes sense. And then they know that strap does that next time, and then everybody's good.
Awesome.
Thanks.
Thank you, Mark. Yes. So we know we went through a lot, but hopefully that kind of gave you some clarity on the next steps of, what to do with just the Trexo and what to expect. So we're all here to help you out. So now I'd like to open the floor for any of your questions. And Iana or Ayana, sorry if I'm pronouncing it wrong. If you have your question, feel free to put your hands up or send them in the chat, whichever one you feel comfortable doing.
And I just wanted to say real quick, Ali shared with you that she can speak both professionally and as a parent about the Trexo, and Mark can as well. Mark's son uses the Trexo So feel free, if there's a question that's on your mind, you're really wondering what it's like day to day as a parent, anything like that, we're really here to support you. So feel free to ask whatever questions are on your mind.
Yeah. And yeah, just to kind of bring up the importance of early intervention, like every time, like any time is the best time, but we have had a lot of parents speak to like the impact that having the Trexo started like 3 years ago and seeing the impact it has on their child is making. So that's really something that we like to kind of emphasize. And Mark and Allison, if you have anything to add to that based on your personal experience of early intervention and getting your kiddos on the Trexo, would love to hear that.
So I wish I could have got him on earlier, but my son is now 9, or will be 9 in January. We were able to get the Trexo for him when he back in 2020. Before that, it didn't really exist as far as I was aware anyway. So he's had it now for just over 2 years. We just crossed over the 1 million step mark. He has gone from a child who had incredibly low tone to a child who can now stand up in the shower. He used to have swallowing issues, and we used to puree his foods. His core and his strength has increased so much that he has a solid food diet now. Honestly, the improvements are kind of countless.
Yeah, it's just amazing to see him have so much strength.
Yeah.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I was just going to say we've had some questions coming in. I'm not sure what you guys can see on my screen. Are you guys able to see the questions, or do you need me to read them?
No,
Oh,
you have
yes.
to read them.
Wait, I see them. I can also help out.
We're seeing the thank you.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, there is a question asking if there are facilities that have the Trexo. So just to say that we do have facilities across Canada, US, one in Lanzarote, in the Canary Islands, and we have one in UAE as well, and the latest one being in Australia. So we have a list on our website of all the locations, so you can check that out. We'll have that also included in our info sheet that will be sent after to you as well.
The one thing I want to note on that is these devices, they are the clinic's devices. So it's not like we have like demo devices or things that we would just give out to people. So just know that wherever you're looking, these people actually, that's their Trexo. So it's up to them to schedule it. And you'll also just want to be mindful of the size they have, because not every Trexo or not every clinic has, certain size Trexo.
Yeah. The other question is, where can I find grants? So we currently have a list of the grants that you can go to and ask. You'll have to do most of the legwork in terms of like reaching out and getting it started. So it's on our website, and we'll also attach a link to the info sheet as well. Yes, so the next question, how much time to get Trexo after paying money? So I guess after the reservation, how long should we expect?
That's a good question. I think there's several factors that go into play there. So depending where you're at on the wait list. So we say technically right now we're reserving for January delivery, but our production team has done an amazing job, and they've really ramped up on their side. So we're able to really get the Trexos out a lot sooner. So the best point of contact would be Alejandro or JDev, just to touch base with them to get an idea of when you would actually get your Trexo, because they can look at everything of where you're at in the wait list. They can get the agreements and the payments and all that stuff moving as well when you're ready.
Yeah, and the best thing to do on your end is to complete the assessment as early as possible in order for us to kind of fit and get their Trexo building for your child so they can get it to you as soon as possible.
Yeah, and I will say the one thing that can be a delay is that Riften. So if you chose to get it from us, obviously that's very quick from us. We order it directly from Riften and they ship it to you. But if you choose to go through insurance, then you're kind of at the mercy of your equipment company and insurance turnaround time. We won't ship the Trexo until you have your Riften.
And I also wanted to add that, well, most families are definitely anxious to get their Trexo. And so we're talking about ways to make sure you can keep things moving. If you happen to need more time, if you're fundraising and you need a little bit more time, if your child happens to have an injury or illness or something, you can always communicate with us and we can move you through the list without losing your spot, just move you according to try to accommodate what you need. So definitely keep that in mind and communicate with us.
Yes. So the next question is pretty much the same. They just submitted their son's assessment this week and they're curious how long the wait list is currently. So Mark here will review the assessment, and after that, Alejandro or Jada will get back to you accordingly and give you a timeline of when to expect it. So yeah, another question is, how easy is it to travel with the Trexo, or do most families just keep it at home, thinking for school, going to a park, visiting family, etc.? So I think both of you could definitely talk to this.
Sure. I'll talk on my side and I'll let Mark answer the side that I don't do. So we travel with our Trexo. Since we're in the US, we go a lot of places for therapy. And honestly, my son's Trexo comes with, it's just to the point where I can't leave it at home. And since we drive, I just put it in the van. I roll it in the van up the ramp. We got our accessible van last year and to roll the Trexo in, put together and pack everything around it. I'm able to kind of latch it down with the wheelchair tie downs, and yeah, it comes with us. It's interesting to finding places obviously to stay in that are accessible, but we go outside, we go for walks in the neighborhood, take it to the park. Definitely, it's definitely part of us when we travel now. So I can let Mark talk about how they travel with it.
So basically, my son uses it at school Monday to Friday, and then we use it on the weekend at home. So we have an accessible van as well. I transport it there on Mondays, leave it at the school from Monday to Friday, and then pick it up on Fridays and bring it home for the weekends. But I also, like in the summer, took it camping. Basically, you can break the whole device down into 5 15 to 20 pound parts and pack it into your car fairly small. It kind of depends on which type of a vehicle you have. And then if your plans are to fly with it, what I would say is we have a shipping case that you can take the legs and the battery box off and put it in the shipping case that looks like a big piece of luggage that's hard-sided. And you can just put the Riften on the plane as a wheelchair, and then you can put the Trexo all in the shipping case and put it in the checked luggage and fly with it that way. But there's definitely ways to do it. You just need to let me know which way you want to do it, and I'll teach you how to take it apart.
Awesome. Yeah, it's really cool to see pictures of families taking the Trexo while camping, while doing like a trail during the summertime, especially. There's definitely a lot more videos that we see from families. Yeah, so just a couple questions that we've had come in earlier would be like, how does the Trexo help with recovery? They seem to have heard about like families using it post-surgery. So if you could speak to that.
Yeah, sure. So a lot of the kiddos are, when they're after their surgeries, their doctors are recommending that they're getting range of motion on the, like say a child has had a hip osteotomy. There's going to be a time of healing, but then the doctor is going to recommend that the child gets range of motion. We want to limit the weight bearing typically because we don't want to put too much pressure, but the child would benefit from range of motion when they're in their healing phase. So what we can do is we can put the kid in the Trexo and lift it up off the ground on the front yoke of the Riften so that the child's not touching the floor, and we can offer that range of motion without the weight bearing. So we can do exactly what actually the doctor is recommending. We've had some other kids that do serial casting. And what we can do is we can send foot plates that'll fit the size of the serial casting. And then the child, again, can use it in an air gate position where their feet aren't touching the ground when they're in the processes of serial casting. And we can make that work as well.
Awesome. Yeah. So we've had a question come in here. What happens when a child outgrows the Trexo? Are they sold back?
So, yeah, you can take that one.
I'll talk about it a bit since it involves fees. Yeah, so it's not a buyback. So you're able to pay a fee, an upgrade fee, instead of purchasing a whole new device in full. So let's say your child is in a small Trexo, and then once they officially outgrow it, keep in mind it is adjustable at the seat height, frame height, leg length. These are all adjustable areas. So once they officially outgrow it, then going small to medium, you would pay an upgrade fee of $2,500, and that would get them in the medium Trexo. Once they outgrow that medium, if they go into the large Trexo, it would be an upgrade fee of $7,500. And then if they go from large to extra large, it would be an upgrade fee of $2,500. So the $7,500 upgrade fee from medium to large is higher because the child at that point needs the extra large motors because they're bigger and stronger. So they need the powerful motors. So essentially over the lifespan of your child, it's not a bad deal. If you look at it from small to extra large, which goes up to roughly 5'9".
Yeah.
I had a question that had got emailed to me. What can a child who has a discrepancy in leg length use the Trexo?
Yep, absolutely. My son has about 3/4 of an inch leg length discrepancy, and he's used it for quite some time. I know, I mean, Mark would help you with that. Obviously, you can adjust the legs to be different lengths on each side, or maybe you just keep them the same length. That's Mark's area, but yes, you can definitely use it.
Yeah, we can totally make whatever you've got work. If the aim is ground walking, we'll have to set both of the Trexo robotic legs to be the same length. But there's things that we can do. We can get a riser. We can truncate the longer leg slightly by contracting or bending the knee a little bit. There's ways to make things work. I've never been stumped before.
Great. So we've had another question come in from Elena. My son's hip is slightly out, and doctors have recommending osteotomy. Is there a possibility that Trexo could help prevent?
So I've seen a few kids. I don't want to say yes, to be perfectly honest with you. I've seen a couple of kids that have been able to stay away from surgery. I've seen lots of kids that need surgery. It's more so doctor's recommendation, but typically what's happening for kiddos that a doctor's requesting an osteotomy surgery, it's usually a greater migration percentage than we're comfortable with. So if the hip is migrated past 40 degrees of migration, we're looking for a doctor's orthopedic clearance to make sure the kiddo's not going to be in any pain when they're in weight bearing or when they're through the range of motion that we're offering. And by the sounds of it, I would imagine the child's hip is more than 40%. If it's under 40%, we can set the device up to help with it. But if the doctor's recommending an osteotomy surgery, chances are it's probably a good go.
And I can say my son, both his hips are out certain percent, and he's used the Trexo the whole time with no pain. But that's my child, and every child is so different, like Mark said. So it's hard for us to say, yes, it would help. No, it wouldn't. We'll always defer to your doctor.
Yeah. And with that also, like, since every child is different, when you do need to change anything, or if you have something new that occurs with your child, you have access to Mark and Davinia to set up that call and get a solution that's fitted just for your child, because it all is based upon your child's condition and how they grow as well. So yeah, feel free to drop in any other questions. It seems like we are nearly done. So if you have any last minute questions, feel free to drop them in. And otherwise, we'll start wrapping up. So it's been a great afternoon with everyone here, and we'll always be here to answer any questions that pop up. And you can message us on social media, through your emails as well. And Mark is always going to be available through the chat app when you do get it. So,
Thank you, everyone, and thank you, Mark and Allison. That was great. We will be emailing the recording out to you guys tomorrow, along with a resource sheet. And then, of course, as we keep saying, if you have any questions, just contact us and we'll do what we can to get you answers.
yes, thank you so much. And welcome to the Trexo family.
Yes, welcome. Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Hi, guys.
Bye.
See you. Thanks, guys.